And I'm just going to put it out there because I'm a voice and I tell it the way it is.
Yeah.
Demi Lovato, she came out and they, overdosed a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And is coming forward. And I commend her. I'm not bashing her at all. It's not about her, but what the message she put out there is, well, I don't do opiates anymore. I moderately drink and smoke marijuana, but I'm in recovery. And I'm not going to throw this person under the bus, but a huge recovery advocate that runs a number of nonprofits, in the grassroots, puts on Twitter, "Dear Demi Lovato, you're in recovery when you say you're in recovery. I'm so proud of you for being your authentic self. Keep up the great work. Carry on. We love you." Bullshit. How can someone be in recovery that is moderately drinking and smoking marijuana? They're not using their drug of choice. And Jennifer, when we were talking, she said, hold on, cocaine and alcohol were my drugs of choice. I don't use them anymore, but I now shoot heroin. Am I in recovery?
Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine at recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost, we're a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself, a loved one, maybe you're in active recovery a little while or a long, long time. We cover all kinds of topics here related to addiction, recovery, and really living a happy, successful, and sober life at Recovery Today. My name is Rob Hanley. I'm the editor-in-chief of Recovery Today, and I am joined, as usual, as always, by two really, really incredible people. They are famously known, respectively, as A&E's dope man and a substance abuse interventionist and world-renowned model, supermodel, I should probably say, actress, substance abuse activist, and reality TV star. These two together are not your typical celebrity couple in Hollywood. They are not only famous in active recovery, but they are both very, very proactive in changing people's lives. My guest today and my dear friends, Tim Ryan and Jennifer Gimenez. Thanks for jumping on.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Thank you so much. What an intro. Thank you.
Can you introduce us at speaking events in the future? That was great.
Good, man. All right, I nailed it. All right, that's pretty good. Good. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm doing really, really good. So yeah, everything is, kind of hitting on all cylinders, and we're starting to get back into, where it's not so dark and dreary where I live here in Seattle, and everything is great. But you guys are not in your typical location. You're kind of bi-coastal. Usually when we're talking, you're in LA or whatnot, but now you're in Florida. So
yeah, we are.
Yeah. So as I have told you guys privately, when are you moving to Florida, the place where it's actually wide open and they're business friendly? And I love Florida. I would move to Florida in a heart. I would move to Florida next month if I could.
We are.
So, let me start. Sorry. Everyone who's listening,
we bicker back and forth,
we cut each other off, and that's how it's been since day one.
Ladies first.
Thank you. First and foremost, Rob, thank you for everything you've done for me. You literally have changed my life. Thank you for giving me a huge platform to use my voice and to write about whatever the real with me is in that month. It's so important to me to have that voice, and thank you. Like, you allow it to be heard. Thank you for putting me on your cover a year and a half ago, or a year and a few months ago. 2 years ago, actually. 2 years and a few months ago. Thank you.
We put Tim in the small cover. We put him in the small cover.
Yeah, I got a small cover. Me and the wee man.
I got a small cover too. I'm just saying, in December of a year ago. But thank you for that one too. I just love you. And for all those who are listening, you're so dedicated to what you do. You're so passionate. And, we talk every couple weeks or every couple days. We're like late night texting or calling you and just harassing you. So thank you for being in our lives and being one of our family.
Yeah, well, we're friends. So that's what we do. And, we hit it all off. Originally it was you and I, and then it became, then as you guys got married, and congratulations on finally putting the rock on the finger there. I know that.
Well, she had the rock. She finally got the other band, because we had the ring I originally got at this place in Florida And when we were going to get married, I would have got the other one, and then COVID hit. So
yeah, we're going to have a wedding, and now we'll have a wedding, but later next year.
Yeah, but we're able to get
I hope I'm invited. Am I invited?
Of course you will. Of course.
Of course, you're going to be there.
All right. Okay, cool.
So to answer your question about Florida and LA, we've been between both places. We haven't been here since September, but we're torn. Do we move to Florida full time? Do we keep LA?
So when we first got together, I was living here more than I was in LA. I'd be there like maybe a few days out of every 6 weeks or every couple of weeks. And so he was going to move here, and then we went to LA, and like life changed. So we kind of just we're kind of floating around, and I've always kept a place in LA. So when COVID happened, and getting sick and all that stuff, like we weren't really obviously allowed to travel or do very much. And when we did, we were very cautious. And then we got COVID. And then afterwards, I've never not been to Florida in the last 8 years. Longer, I'd never not been here after a few weeks, right? Like the longest I think I've been in LA or anywhere else away from Florida was maybe 2 weeks. So we haven't been here in 6 months.
Yeah.
And once we started flying over into Florida this last trip, we were like, what are we doing? We need to be here. So we're very torn. A lot of great things are happening in Los Angeles for us, but a lot of great things are happening for wherever we go.
Well, nationwide, wherever we're at. So, and with technology, everything today, we could live in a van on the Colorado River.
Nobody thinks twice about it either. Is one thing that's obviously, obvious to everybody is, now everybody is so familiar with Zoom. And, I've been a digital entrepreneur for many, many, many years. And so Zoom and video, all this kind of stuff I've always thought that, but now, people going to church on Zoom, they're going to meetings on Zoom, AA meetings, NA meetings on Zoom. It's not even a thing now at all. Wish I had Zoom stock, wish that would have been a good.
I know.
It's been great in one aspect, but I miss the interaction of people. I miss in-person meetings. And we started doing some in LA at a friend's house up on their roof. There's a bunch of things are open here. We've been vaccinated. So you just need to be cautious. But I would hope and look forward to life getting back to normal, whatever normal is.
I think there's a new normal, and I think life is getting back to the new
normal. By the way, I freaking hate that. I completely hate that. I just absolutely hate the whole idea of a new normal. I freaking hate it.
Yeah, I do too.
Change sucks sometimes. I'm
not going to go down the rabbit hole of COVID. At least I don't think that I'm going to. You had it, but I still just hate this. I hate the fact I can't go to a football game, that's why I love Florida. It's like a whole different planet, man. So I don't like I don't just bring the whole idea of we're all going to be wearing masks forever. Fuck, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, I think that what we're all talking about right now is like this new, we want freedom again. And like, it's tricky.
Yes.
We'll never be able to do the things, or at least for a while, we won't be able to do the things that we were doing before. And I think that with how you're talking about it, and how I feel about it, how Tim feels about it, this is why there's so much happening out in the world with people feeling trapped, feeling mental illness happening, people in their alcoholism happening, people in their addiction, people relapsing, people are so sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah. And well, let's rant about COVID, I guess, for a minute, because who could have ever imagined that would be a year type of a thing. But, and the thing that's interesting with you guys in particular, and I bring you up in conversations quite often, as I say, I have some close friends that had it really, really bad. And I remember, because you're so active on social, like reading your posts, it was like, oh my God, it was like really scary, memory loss and not knowing, falling down, all this kind of whatnot. It was bad, really, really bad. On the other side of the coin, your business and what you do and what your calling in life currently is or has been is helping people with mental illness. And everyone, myself with no exception, has had a really, really hard time with this. I used to go to the gym every single day. I put on 20 pounds, but it's not really the body side, it's the mind. barely where I live now. The gym's kind of open now. You got to wear a mask, which drives me freaking crazy because you're not getting oxygen. But the part that's the whole shutdown and the lack of being able to connect with people or to shake hands or to hug people and things like that. Let's talk a little bit about what you've seen from the pandemic within the pandemic. That was one of the things that you wrote in your ongoing really, really cool series, The Real Real. Like, let's talk about what's the freaking real real. That's one of the reasons I like even the name of your feature is let's not just be real. Let's like talk about like the nitty gritty. So
yeah,
what do you see, man? What's the whole, what's the skinny with that? Let's go on a little tangent rant for just a moment, and we'll jump on.
We're gonna go on a few tangents.
So, COVID really quick. So we were going back. We were in Texas. We were traveling, speaking, doing all these things. We had 85 speaking events booked last year. We were going to do all this stuff, and
you earn your living speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, and we decided
everything was canceled.
And I had decided because I had put acting on the back burner for the last 6 years.
But even if you're an actor, Emilio Rivera, our mutual friend, the Mayans, he's just been posting. They finally got back a few months ago and started filming, and finally, like, there's not any movies or TV shows for the last year,
We had a TV show in the works at that time, and I got 3 movies in a pilot. I decided to get back into acting, and boom, it happened like that. It was like, okay, God, I guess you want me to do this, right? And I wasn't going to pursue it like I used to back in the day. And I said to Tim, if it comes to me and if I have to do a couple things like audition wise, sure. But like, if it comes to me, it's what God wants. I get 3, and then I get a pilot. Tim gets in the pilot. He's going to play the lead father of the lead girl, and like the bad guy and this and that. And it's his first, show and all this stuff. We get back to LA on a Tuesday. Thursday, California shuts down. Hollywood shuts down. Then Friday, the America shut down, really. Yeah. And we were like, oh my God. And then within the next few weeks, we are getting canceled on everything that we had job-wise. And it was like, whoa, like, so we know the impact, of what, people losing jobs and this and that. I mean, we were like, there is a time, and for a year, we've been on survival mode, so much so that right now, we'll get to that later. I'm like, holy crap, babe, like, I'm burnt out. Like, I'm burnt because we've been on survival mode and we needed to reinvent ourselves. But in that the first week of being on lockdown, I'm running around the house, like, just like with my chicken.
So I'm going to stop her right here. Jen's therapy is cleaning, but she's going to the stores. We are still getting packages from Amazon a year later, Rob, of masks, of bleach, of Clorox, crap she ordered that was back ordered. Yeah. We're still getting it.
So I'm running around. It's in the evening, and I go have this realization. I come into the room, Tim's reading something, and I'm like, babe, and he looks up and he's like, yeah, babe. And I'm like, I gotta tell you something. He's like, go ahead, and I'm like, there's a pandemic within a pandemic about to happen. And he looked at me and I go, my mental health is gonna get affected. Yeah. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Yeah. My alcoholism is gonna get affected.
Yep.
Can you imagine anyone else? Like, I have a foundation, and I have a team of people. Like, I'm in recovery. Like, I have a solid foundation. If I'm feeling like this, how is the rest of the world going to feel? And he's like, let's go on,
So start talking about it.
So we did. And then it just kind of exploded because then people caught on to that. And cut to, I'm OCD. I have underlying issues, health issues. I did not want to get COVID. Whatever. And Tim was like, it doesn't exist, and we're going back and forth.
I was with you, Rob. It didn't exist.
I know. Okay. I don't say that it doesn't exist. Okay. Right. I don't say that it doesn't exist. I will actually admit that I am a tinfoil hat wearer, though. And yes, I do believe this. People go, oh, he's really crazy. It's a mental health magazine, okay? So I get a little bit of latitude for being somewhat crazy. Yes, I think that stuff like 5G, by the way, plays a massive, massive role. I know that's way conspiratorial, but like they were installing antennas, like, in passing laws. You can't even, people even talking about 5G, they shut them down right away. Why would they do that? So there's other things. I always have said this does not make sense entirely, but I am not a denier of it because I have you. There's 2 people. I've got another friend that had it really, really bad. I've got another friend that had it really, really bad. And then I've met enough people. I don't know anybody that's died, but I do know several people that they'll say, my mom died or this happened or that happened. So I'm not like a denier. My whole thing in looking to talk about this and kind of go on the rant is my opinion, outspoken, is I think that the shutdown, it was actually, and the continuing, by the way, has been way worse than this ever was. I always have thought, like, you know, circle the wagons on the old people and stuff like that. But, you know, everybody out there, and I will say, by the way, I think masks are totally freaking useless, completely useless. I'm sorry if that offends people, it pisses people off. It's just how I feel. You know, it's my opinion.
The bottom line is it affected hundreds of thousands. It killed hundreds of thousands of people here, or contributed to their health issues they already had. But here's the bottom line. The United States of America, whatever this pandemic COVID is still, we were the worst in the world at handling it.
Yeah.
How does that happen when we're the greatest country in the world, supposedly? And it was an utter failure.
It was.
I'm not pointing fingers at this person. Or
I don't think that putting people that got COVID into old folks' homes.
Nope.
And actually, I'll just say, I don't think that's an accident, by the way. I don't think it was a failure. I think that shit was intentional. That's what I think.
I'll tell you this, you know, when we got, we're in LA, we're on lockdown. I'm not even going to stores anymore at this point. We're on lockdown. I'm ordering everything and then some, you know, on the internet. And I walk. That was been like my saving grace. I would walk, and I'm walking. It's late June. I'm walking around, and so everyone who was walking in our area where we live and was walking on the sidewalks. So I decided to start walking on the streets because everything's closed, right? So our streets are closed down. So I would only walk in the middle of the street. No one was around me, and it's early July. And I think it's late June, and I get in the car with Tim, and he looked at me. We're gonna go see my mom, right? And he looks at me and he goes, "You have fish eyes," and I'm like, "I feel weird, babe." And I had these fish eyes, like
when I say fish eyes, like a fish eyes pops out and they're all glossy looking. That's the way Jennifer's eyes were. They were very.
It was weird.
Yeah, they looked like a fish.
I looked weird, and it was like they were red on the white part. It was all red. So then all of a sudden, 3 hours later, I'm not feeling good. 3 hours later, I get a fever. 3 hours, I'm down. And then Tim 3 days later gets COVID. He's not feeling good. We call at the time in early July. That's when all the cases were rising in LA. We couldn't get an appointment for 3 weeks. So I'm like, we need to know. So we get a concierge service to come. They test us. We test positive. And I got to tell you, the moment we got sick, every single day got worse for 8 weeks.
I remember reading your Facebook and your Instagram. It was like reading a horror story. It was bad.
I mean, and there was 2 nights, Rob, 2 different nights, not back to back, where we were on the phone with Cedars-Sinai. I couldn't breathe. And so they were like, just finish talking, say sentences. And I was like,
I've got EpiPens ready to go. She's doing the inhaler. I mean, we were saying goodbye to each other.
And we're 6 months married. And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, I'm saying goodbye to my husband that I just married.
And my wife possibly is going to have to either go to the hospital via ambulance or me getting her there, and they're not letting me in. And God forbid if she dies, she's going to die alone in a hospital bed by herself. Not happening.
And how many people did that happen to, though? How many people did that happen to?
That was a big deal for me at that moment, that realization, because I looked at him and I said, I want to die looking basically.
She wanted to die in bed.
I wanted to die looking at someone I loved. I wanted my husband. I wanted to die looking at him. And so he's trying to breathe with me, and he's like, I will, you know, and he's doing what I'm doing just to make me feel okay, but you know.
It gets me emotional right now having her say that, because it brings me right back, Rob, to that day I remember like yesterday. And it's like, I'm finally happy. I found the love of my life. Everything is beautiful, and she's gonna die on me. What kind of fucking cruel joke is this?
Yeah, it was, and you know, to say it's, and none of you guys have said that. It is as real as anything.
I don't. So I'll put a sandwich together on this because we're joking around a little bit. And he's saying I deny it and stuff. I don't deny it. I wouldn't want to get it. My whole thing is, even I'm thinking we're talking about it, is how come there's never, I hate pharmaceutical companies. Okay. I don't like them. I don't trust them, especially big pharmaceutical companies. They're the ones that brought us the opiate crisis. So I don't like them actually coming to the rescue of all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, I do believe that there's cures for things that are out there that they don't want it cured because they can make more money selling these treatments. I think personally there's a cure for cancer. I think there's a cure for diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
You either end up dead or they buy you off or some kind of something. So that's but it's not necessarily so crazy thinking when you're thinking you're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars per year. So why is there no talk about boosting your immune system? Why would you have everybody go inside when the sunlight is proven to kill not just this, but anything? And fresh air, God freaking forbid you're going to get fresh air. I just think that there was no, I don't know. It looks to me like the whole thing is set up so that, big pharma can make $1 bajillion. That's my full on.
No,
I deny that the thing that people has got really sick. I wouldn't want to get it, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll end with this. There are so many natural cures. The indigent people in Colombia or wherever, they've been living just fine for centuries without
ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine does freaking work. That's just my opinion. That if too many people have used it, I just think if they would have just let that shit get out, there wouldn't have been any vaccine market. There wouldn't have been any. So that's my whole thought. But yes, people have been sick. My heart breaks for people that have lost loved ones. It really, really, really breaks completely. And I'm grateful. My own mother died a year ago in August. So about 3-4 months before this all happened. At least she lived to be 97, but she was in an old folks home. I can't even imagine. My wife and I have talked about it a lot. Like if my mom had been around when this happened, thank God she exited stage left, like right at the opportune time, just a few months before all of this stuff went down. So,
but Rob, we want to thank you. I'm sorry to cut you off again, but we want to thank you.
You were like our lifeline. You know that?
For introducing us to Dr. Sikarsky out of Long Island.
Dr. Saraski.
Dr. Russell. But anyhow, he did an hour-and-a-half phone consultation with us at 10:30 at night, his time in Long Island, after doing what he does all day. He's the only triple board certified neurologist in the country. And he got us on a high dose of steroids and some other things.
He saved our
lives. 2-3 days later, we started feeling better. So thank you.
Good. I was telling you, like, I knew you were feeling really bad. And I'm like, God, this is so frustrating. Because on one hand, although, like I said, I don't like big pharmacy, there's a lot of effective drugs that are out there. And I was thinking, like, there's probably hydroxychloroquine right down at CVS. In fact, I'm sure there is right down at CVS. There's ivermectin. All those things have been around for 70 years or whatever. Budesonide is another one. And I'm like, it's right down there. You just need a script. And then I was thinking Dr. Saraski, he's awesome. He's contributed many times to Recovery Today. He's all over everywhere. And my friend that's a brain doctor. And so it was like, yeah, he does telemedicine now. So he's licensed. It's all legit. So I'm really happy that helped.
Thank you. I mean,
let's talk about what's happened though, I guess, as we segment out of kind of the pandemic. What's the wreckage? I mean, you guys you're on the very front lines. You're getting phone calls all the time. Okay. So the other day, relapse and things like that, and my kid's going to commit suicide or somebody did, or let's kind of jump into that a little bit and then we'll move to happier trails.
I mean, there are a lot of days that we spent, and Tim especially, we'll talk to families for interventions. The other day, a couple of days ago, we spent 8 hours on the phone in total of just hearing people's dark stories, interventions, and people didn't get into the treatment centers. People didn't have insurance. Tim's looking up, where there's a free place for someone. He's going way above the call of duty to help people get into
all treatment. Hours of the night, all hours.
I mean, it was so draining. And then, because of I have post-COVID, so does Tim. We're long haulers. That's a whole nother story. But, I'm going through a lot of trials and tribulations, and I've been in a place recently where I needed to find boundary for everything that's going on. However, what we have seen happen in the last year is that this has set us back 10 years.
Minimum.
Easily.
So, I mean, mental health calls are up 850%. Suicides are up 1,000%. Alcohol sales are up 250%.
What about weed sales? You could buy weed too. Weed, that's essential.
Through the roof.
Yeah.
Right. Opiate overdoses are up 34%. People are dying in record numbers. Yeah. The bullshit I'm hearing out here now too, you know, you have to understand a lot of families lost their jobs. They lost their health insurance. So unless you can cash pay or you've got an out-of-network or an in-network insurance policy, it's a hell of a lot harder to find people help today.
Yeah.
And that's the majority of the phone calls we receive. I don't get paid to do this, but it's my duty to guide and direct and offer people this.
Yeah.
But there's and what you said is, a lot of old timers Jennifer knew from LA that were 20, 30, 40 years
47 years old, 47 sober.
Committing suicide or relapsing because of what you said earlier, Rob, connection and purpose. I like to go to the gym. I have my routine. People couldn't do any of it.
And that's the thing. People that are in recovery.
Right? I don't even like not being able to, am I smiling? Am I not smiling? Right?
Yeah,
I hate that, man. It's like being in the freaking jihad or you know, the hip job or, you know, whatever. I hate that because you can see, engage so much, just, you know, your brain doesn't even know. It's the thing that makes you say, like, makes you feel good, man. I just,
sorry. So that's the whole thing is that, you know, we in recovery, people who have been in the dark, you know, in darkness, we need that communicative relationship.
Yep.
We need to, that's what this, you know, people that have done 12-step based things are, you know, it's learning to have a communicative relationship with yourself, with a power greater than you, whatever you want to call it, and with your sponsor. Then you apply it in the rest of your life, you know, in all areas. So we got removed from that. And then it's like, oh my God. And then Tim and I, thank God I had Tim, you know, and thank God I have a team and I tell myself, I write about it. The real for me is a place where I tell on my truth and tell on myself. Yep. And I tell about what I experienced because it's so important for me to let people know that and more importantly than anything else, that I know that I need to be humanized. Because I've been so uniquely different for all my life that now I found a place where I can connect with other people and I can tell people, you know what? I'm in recovery now. This is what my journey is. And it's not pretty all the time. And sometimes it's beautiful, you know, and although I have spiritual tools, these are all new experiences for me because I've never been sober on this day and I've never had this much sobriety. So I've never had this time sober. It's a new experience. And,
you know, what else has happened though too, Rob, is you have the mental health crisis, you have the substance abuse, alcoholism, and all this trauma people are dealing with. And you have big name people out there talking about, we have a mental health crisis. You just had Prince Harry talking about it on Oprah, that his wife struggled with it. It's great. People are talking about it, but there's no fucking solutions for people to get help. Talk to the mother that has a 16-year-old son that has severe mental health issues and has state insurance. There's no help for him.
If you have money or you have great insurance, you can get help, you know what I mean? And like, I remember when I was newly sober this time and it's, you know, 14 and a half years ago, and I was leaving treatment and I thought, how am I going to afford my mental health medication? Right? Like, because it's expensive. Insurance wasn't covering it. It was all non-narcotics. So like, I'm like, how am I going to afford this? Like, I'm not working. I blew all my money. I'm barely, my heart's barely breathing. So how about, you know, and it was like, I got lucky. I got people in Crenshaw 96 and 46 in the hood. You know, these people were like helping me pay for my medication.
But the times have changed.
The times have changed. I mean,
you know, and like people lost their jobs. People lose everything.
Yeah.
And nobody is truly focusing on the people that don't have resources. And this, I'm really jaded with where recovery is going this day. I mean, peer
recovery industry.
So let's start taking that exit ramp then. Let's talk about where it is going right now. Where do we?
It's going into can I swear it's going into a clusterfuck. That's where it's going because you have people that became peer recovery support specialists. A mother that lost her kid takes a 6-hour class or an 8-hour class, and now she's a recovery support specialist. I understand I've lost a child and they want to help. But just because you take an 8-hour class, you don't understand recovery. So
Yeah.
I think that movement, but then if you
You
really,
got states legalizing every drug out there,
Yep.
you know, and what? Like, huh? Like you're gonna, you know, you have
minimize it, you have. So let's go real quick on when the COVID happened, people that were on MAT, provided Suboxone or methadone or Vivitrol, all of a sudden they're having the meds mailed to them, or they can pick up a month's supply. But what was taken out of the equation was the medicated assisted therapy. The therapy, the treatment aspect were gone. So people were just self-medicated. Pandora box was open. Now let's talk about it, Jen. What did you write about last night?
So, you know, there's this whole like California sober, you know, I'm no longer, and so I'll give a hypothetical here. People are saying,
bring it up though. I mean, let's talk about
well,
it.
people are saying, you know, I no longer shoot up heroin or do heroin, but I'm drinking and smoking weed. That's California sober. I'm like, what? Like, first of all,
I haven't heard of California sober before.
So this happened. I heard about it yesterday or the day before.
There was an interview.
There was an interview with, well, I'll let you tell that story. But my whole theory about what I posted yesterday was I got sober in California. Recovery in California is fucking badass. Like if you want real recovery, it is phenomenal. That's where I got sober. That's where I started getting sober when I was 21. So I am very proud of where I got sober. And I was taught 20 years ago, but I was taught in this recovery as well, that if I drink or do drugs, I am not in recovery, right? And I do a 12-step base. That's my thing. I've done a lot of other things throughout. I've implemented a lot of different things in my life in the last 15 plus years of recovery that's helped me and helped my recovery. But I always go back to the 12 steps, right? In the 12-step base program
Foundation.
But don't tell me, because it'd be like me saying right now, could you be sitting here doing an interview with me and telling me, thank you for being in recovery, if I told you I no longer do cocaine, but I'm shooting up heroin and drinking?
So let me, and I'm just going to put it out there because I'm a voice and I tell it the way it is.
Yeah.
Demi Lovato, she came out and they, overdosed a couple years ago and is coming forward. And I commend her. I'm not bashing her at all. It's not about her, but what the message she put out there is, well, I don't do opiates anymore. I moderately drink and smoke marijuana, but I'm in recovery. And I'm not going to throw this person under the bus, but a huge recovery advocate that runs a number of nonprofits, in the grassroots, puts on Twitter, "Dear Demi Lovato, you're in recovery when you say you're in recovery. I'm so proud of you for being your authentic self. Keep up the great work. Carry on. We love you." Bullshit. How can someone be in recovery that is moderately drinking and smoking marijuana? They're not using their drug of choice. And Jennifer, when we were talking, she said, hold on, cocaine and alcohol were my drugs of choice. I don't use them anymore, but I now shoot heroin. Am I in recovery?
Yeah.
And this is dangerous,
but
because
it's the people in the industry that are co-signing that.
Co-signing
I think
bullshit.
It's amazing that people are their progress of getting better slowly is working. I do believe in MAT. If you're doing therapy and you're taking, and you have a lot of trauma and you're have a goal, you're working a recovery program. You're working towards a goal, like a 3-month goal to get off of it. I get that. Totally down with that. I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm just here to say what recovery really is not that.
Yeah, and it's well, I smoke weed now, but I'm in recovery. Hey, if you smoke weed, great. And you don't do your drug of choice, that's great. And I'll end with this. In 2006, I was on the front page of USA Today newspaper. Front page, international newspaper.
This is before Facebook.
Before Facebook and all this. And the caption read, "In Tim Ryan's family, he's a drug addict." And it was me talking about, at that time, my 16 years in and out of recovery, struggling with opiates. I was on Suboxone at the time. I occasionally talked to my sponsor, but didn't do a recovery program. I did the article partially for ego, and I thought I had all the answers. 4 years later, I overdosed. I hit 2 cars and almost killed 4 people. Why? Because I had no spiritual tools. I had no foundation. I wasn't being true and honest with myself, and I did no internal work. And I thought, well, I can take away this. I'm fine. And I see this same road disaster happening with the number of people that are thinking this way.
Preach, babe.
So my 2 cents to add into the discussion on this is, and I always tell everybody, look, I'm not a therapist. I'm not an interventionist. I'm not licensed to anything. I just am a guy that has talked to a lot of people, read a lot of articles, and I'm passionate about it. And I've been sober since 1994. Okay. So 20, I don't even know how many years it is, 27 years or something like that. It's kind of a while. I'm a little different though, as we develop our friendship, is that the thing for me has been, I tell people, I don't really think about, man, I might use, I don't think about anything like that at all. My thing has been anxiety and depression. That's why whenever we have anybody that talks about anxiety, depression, I immediately gravitate to it, because I become kind of I don't want to say I become an expert, a layman expert from YouTube and from conversations and researching, so that I can help myself, because I don't want to be on drugs forever.
Yeah.
For it. And I've gone on a little bit here and there when it was really, really bad for a month or 2 or something. So, that's kind of there. But how the evolution of recovery today has been is, yes, my belief is I subscribe to what I call the potato chip theory. You can't eat one Pringle. Okay. If you eat one Pringle and maybe you put the can away, it just opens the door till the next Pringle. You really can't even watch one kind of porn, because if you go long to all of these things that light up your brain, sugar or whatever it's going to be, because then it's going to be, what's going to happen is the gap gets smaller and smaller and smaller between periods of the next kind of use, or it escalates, because this part in our brain, I do know, wants more. So my opinion is I'm very strongly abstinence based in terms of what it is. My wife is completely normie. She have a couple glasses. She doesn't even understand the concept. It's foreign to her. I mean, she gets it and has empathy, but can't relate personally to it. So recovery today is mostly a 12-step abstinence-based type of a modality, but we also have a lot of non-12 step, because we want to have as wide of a net as possible. So
Sure.
My articulation, what I kind of, so what do we believe in recovery today? I don't care if you're sober. Now we can, we can kind of mince a little, this person's in recovery or not, but I always say, like, if you're healthy, happy, the people around you, you show up for work, you're contributing, and other normal people around you say, they're a little crazy, but yeah, they're good. Like they're doing good. I personally don't subscribe to, I stopped heroin. I do weed. I like weed and I drink a little bit. I think once you kind of go over the cliff that says, I'm in really shitty, I'm in a bad way. I need a problem. I think from that point where you've admitted it to yourself, I think it's too late, man. Now you've gone past that point. That's kind of my 2 cents. But we have done, and I'll take this as an on-ramp for your opinion, is we did a feature last month, actually in our last issue. It was very interesting because we wanted to talk about stuff about legalization. You actually mentioned that and brought it up. In Oregon, I think everything is legal now. I think everything actually
Decriminalized, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of other places too. It's going to happen in California, or I think Colorado is psilocybin and stuff like that. There's a lot of people talking about microdosing. I don't know that these people are people that would have said, I got a problem, or I need help, or this is out of control. I think once you pass that point, but it's going to happen. And this guy that we had on last month, I'll think of what his name is in a minute. He's actually an advocate for legalization. And I have to admit, like, he brought up topics I wasn't prepared to rebut. I don't think we should legalize drugs, but my personal opinion is it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen probably everywhere except for maybe Texas and a couple of other super conservative places.
It could, and I'll let Jen go, but I just don't get this. It's dangerous. Dr. Carl Hart, 3 weeks ago, he's a neurologist, or I don't know, some neuro doctor. He's got a PhD. He's big for prison reform and harm reduction. He does some amazing things, but then he's talking about he does heroin to maintain his work-life balance. What? and you're promoting this, and people are co-signing this bullshit.
And then all of a sudden,
who uses heroin to maintain a work-life balance and they want to promote recovery?
But then all of a sudden, the way that people attacked him in the industry, right? Names of people like who are like tools now to me. They decided to say that my husband's racist because he said something against what this guy was doing.
Yeah, because he's an African-American.
I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. Yeah.
Most southern part of South America. Like there's no racism.
My brother and sister are 3/4 Chippewa Indian. My oldest daughter's godfather is African-American.
That's always though, you know what that is though? That's always like the red herring. And that's not to say that there's not discrimination and whatnot, like getting the whole racism thing. But I hate that, man. I'll just tell you, I don't give a shit what color you are.
Neither do I.
I am completely, totally bigoted. I am an absolute, total freaking bigot to people that are assholes. I don't care if you're black, white, pink, purple, doesn't matter, gay. I don't care if you are. Don't even tell me what you are. I don't give a shit.
So here's the thing, I'm not gonna, I won't throw this person under the bus, but boy, I'd love to. But this person who's a supposed speaker and all this wrote a book.
He rides his brother's
coattails. I'll leave it at that. He writes a comment. Tim, has Dr. Hart ever asked you to do heroin with him? And I'm like, hold on, you're someone that's supposed to be in long-term recovery, and that's a comment you make? And then I replied back to this individual and I said, the difference between me and you is I didn't ride anyone's coattails. I'm in the trenches. I said, when's the last time you pulled a kid out of a trap house, went to a homeless encampment, had a mother crying that their kid's gonna die? I've been to 150 funerals, talking to those mothers, consoling them. You've never done any of this because you've never been in the fucking trenches. Most people have not been in the trenches. We live in the trenches. There's a big difference.
We're cleaning up the messes of everybody who's saying, oh, no, it's okay for you to do a little bit of heroin. It's okay for you to do a little bit of drinking. We're going and we're cleaning up their messes. And like, I was never wanting to do that.
Right.
That is not what my dream was in life. Like to go into the trenches and to like,
do interventions and a speaking event we have coming up, we're presenting to 1,200 doctors and psychiatrists and social workers and advanced nurse practitioners.
Because they want to know what to do in their...
Because they have 28,000 people in their state all addicted to opiates and they don't know what to do. And we're the ones coming in.
So what's the answer? What do we do about that? Let's just stop right there at 28,000.
That's a whole nother comment. I mean, we'd need 2 hours to talk about that.
Well, carve off a nugget, man. What's the main thing? What's the 80-20 rule? What's the main thing?
If you're talking about someone who's been on drugs and can't stay sober, right? That has tried sobriety, or they're like really down the line, it's like very deep into drugs and alcoholism, and it's been years of it. Like what you need is a whole transformation. You don't going to treatment for 3 weeks or just detox does not work. The old school, I call it the OG way, but that was really the way of treatment. You need to go to treatment for 3 months to a year. People are like, but I need to get my life back. Really? How are you going to live? Because you don't know how
What do you do if you got a job and kids and whatnot like that, though? What do you do then?
Well, you see, the problem is, you're going to lose the job and the wife and the kids. They're eventually going to be taken away. But you take someone that's on opiates, and here's our system today. A lot of people, due to their insurance, make them go to intensive outpatient first, which is the end of the treatment line, not the beginning. They need detox. They need inpatient residential. We need 3 to 6 months of intensive treatment, trauma, mental health. Then they need, long-term structured sober living. I don't care how old they are. Jen always talks about, don't let people go back to the scene of the crime. 3-4 weeks in treatment, you're right back home to that same shitty home environment. Nothing.
Now, I'll also say this. One of the greatest gifts, and the real work starts when you're in a 12-base room or some kind of form of some kind of other thing.
Celebrate recovery, refuge recovery, smart. Do what works for you, smart recovery.
I don't believe that everybody needs treatment. And we are on the phone, and Tim specifically, I can't even say that word, is on the phone and saying, no, maybe your kid doesn't need treatment. They need a 12-step base. They need a sponsor. They need to be accountable. They need to be doing this.
They know how to do treatment. I had a father call me, and this guy out of the gate says, don't fuck with me. He said, I'm a retired addictionologist. I'm a 45-year psychiatrist. My 24-year-old son has been to treatment 8 times. He's been some of the best treatment centers in the country. I got great insurance. Don't tell me he needs treatment again. And we talked for about 20 minutes. And I said, sir, your son does not need treatment. He knows how to do treatment. He doesn't know how to stay sober. So we sent him to Oaks Recovery in South Carolina, AA Big Book Boot Camp. It's a 4-month program where you work part-time, pay your way, go through the steps. The last 30 days, you're helping people get them into the steps. The kid is, 4.5 years clean and sober today.
I think that what's happening in the world, but specifically here in our country, is that we have more enablers than anything else. Like, we co-sign, and so many people that work in the recovery industry co-signed the addicts and family members fucking addiction, and they are co-signing them and enabling them into a grave. And that's where I'm having a really hard time with people that work in recovery. It is the most fucked up industry. It's hard. It's more screwed up than Hollywood. And I'm in Hollywood. I have lived and grown up in Hollywood in the entertainment industry since I was 13 years old. And yes, I've had a lot of bad experiences, but I'll tell you this. I am very ashamed of the people that work in recovery and give us people that really give a fuck a bad name.
Well, like, I think in anything,
I'm sorry, I
there's
never
bad
say
guys
that. I
and
don't
there's
talk
good.
a lot of bad things, but I'm going to say that.
I think in anything, especially if it's profitable, you find bad guys and you find good guys. I think in anything.
There are good people.
There are good people. I'm going to cut you off again. I talked to a kid yesterday that had relapsed. We sent him to that program in South Carolina. He's 1.5 years sober, and he is a behavioral health tech at a local treatment center in South Florida. And he called me last night. He said, Tim, do you know of this program? I said, they're phenomenal. Why? He said, well, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go take a job there. I said, why are you leaving the program you're at? He said, because the place is a revolving door. I've been working here 8 months and I've seen the same clients come through the door 5, 6, 7 times. Clients that were on site caught with drugs, they kicked them out. They let them come back. He said, this isn't about people getting better. It's all about their insurance money.
See, and that's the thing. Sorry,
it's disgusting.
I was going to say, I know, like, when my brother started Soba, his place, it was from his own experience that this is a revolving door. I think he went to a very, very famous, I won't name it, place in Malibu when he first got sober 17 or 18 years or so ago. And my brother's an entrepreneur. And so, he picked up on it or had conversations about, like, there's a spreadsheet for the, that it doesn't really get shown that this is the percentage of people that come back, and it adds into predictable income and stuff. And so I know that that's how he designed his place. Actually keep kids in their 20s or something for sometimes a year. Actually, that, he says, get them off drugs is no problem, but then it's learning how to maintain and how to be comfortable in your own skin when you're not high. I am seeing now more and more places, whether they're 12-step or they're non-12-step, with a real message and some kind of a game plan for, we don't want you to come back. We want you here once. And then, whether it might be teaching, some places are very focused on life, preparing for how you're going to support yourself afterwards. I can think of, one. Another one is kind of very focused on experiential stuff, like non-12-step I can think of, that's very focused on trauma, like almost like mini seminars that they do the whole time that they're there, trauma and this and that, music there, all of the getting tools in the toolbox that you're going to be there one time, ideally.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we need to educate. I wasn't educated. I was a drug addict, right? So when I got sober, I'm so grateful. I had Dr. Drew as one of the plethora of doctors. My other doctor was so informative, but I needed to be educated on my disease and what it does to me and what my brain does and all this stuff. But I also needed structure, and I needed tools. I needed people to teach me life skills, which I went to a very fancy place in LA, in Pasadena, but we didn't have a pool. We didn't have a chef. We didn't have life skills. I had to learn all of this through trial and error, and that's okay. I'm glad that, again, I have those tools and those life skills. But there's a wellness aspect to this as well. And I think it's important to not co-sign and give in, because we're babying the addicts and alcoholics today, and we can't be babies.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a series of questions, okay? And I'm going to go through different things because I don't think that one size fits all right?
No.
So, all right, so here's the scenario is, we live in the suburbs, et cetera, et cetera. We got good insurance. My kid is 21 and they're on heroin and no recovery before in the background, nothing. And they call you. What do you tell them to do?
They definitely.
So they need treatment. Yeah. Absolutely.
They need
what kind of a place, not name dropping or whatever, but what kind of a place do they go to?
I would put them into a minimum 90-day long-term structure.
Is insurance going to even pay for that, by the way?
Male or female?
Hold on, let me answer the question.
Either how, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, they're because there's models set up to where they can do detox. Then they can do inpatient res, or in other parts of the country.
Is it 12-step, non-12-step? What's your?
It could be either. So a number of these programs offer 12-step. They offer Christian-based. They offer a holistic route.
Okay, so let me go to the next one.
Wait, can I answer that one? Wait, let me answer. I would say they would need a boot camp. They would need an Oaks because they're young. They need job skills. They need to learn to cope, and they need to learn to give back.
Next one on the whole other side is I'm a welder. I'm a butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I've got a wife. I've got 3 kids, and I've been using heroin for a long time, or drinking, or whatever it is. But the point is, I'm middle-aged. I'm 42, and stuff has got out of control. I don't think I can't go for 90 days. I mean, what now? Or what do you tell them?
They're going to need a minimum 28-day to 30-day program. It's going to take you hypothetically 7 to 10 days, 12 days minimum just to detox. But then they're going to need to be plugged in to obviously therapy, aftercare program, IOP, and a sponsor in some type. For me, a 12-step based program, but they can do Refuge, Recovery, Smart. I don't care what they do. But Rob, you're talking about heroin. 90% of the people that are heroin addicts never get clean and sober. They die or they end up in prison. 90%. So anyone that's doing heroin, absolutely.
If it was alcohol, then let's take.
Alcohol kills more people than anything.
And that's the most dangerous detox possible.
Yeah, you can die from alcohol withdrawal. 100%. You need at least, detox, a long-term.
How about me or my kid? Maybe we go either way. Has been, I guess you already answered it. I was going to say it's been 6 times. Is that boot camp?
Yeah.
I would get people into more of a boot camp, because what happens after 2-3 times, kids know how to work treatment. They know how to go. They know what to say. But if you know what you're doing there, it's when they walk out. They have zero concept of what recovery is, how to stay sober. They might go to meetings, but they don't get a sponsor.
How about severe trauma? Me or my kid or whatever it is, severe trauma. Does that throw anything in?
Totally different aspect. Let me just say something though about the young kid. If the family's not getting better while the kid's not getting better, the kid
Why the kid's getting better?
What? If the family's not getting better while the kid is getting better, then he should not at all go home, because you know what? He's a kid. It's going back, 18-year-old where I'm talking about.
25. Most of these kids are living at home.
They go back and then they're going back to every trigger possible.
What if it's a high school kid? Then what? My 15-year-old.
There's specialized programs, a couple of them that we work with,
good ones. But
we put them immediately on the phone with the clinician and let the clinician work with the family and the adolescent.
And I just
actually in Florida, we did an interview in Florida in Tampa with Recovery High School. I'm trying to think what the name of it was, but kids go there for the sober high school.
I do want to let you know, anything that we're saying right now, we are not being endorsed, or are we working for any treatment center. So we have no ties to any treatment that we're saying they need to go. And a lot of people tend to forget that aspect of it. To be really honest, Rob, there is a really big part of me, because I became a voice, through my experiences as I got sober and got thrown into reality shows. I didn't know. I thought I was just going to be the house manager behind the scenes of Sober House. Everything changed from the day I opened the door at that sober house, on VH1 with Dr. Drew. my life and our lives, anyone who was involved in that, our lives changed. And because I was taught to stand in my truth, I started speaking about my experiences after the first show aired. And I always had a layer wall protecting me, and I was in the trenches and I was speaking and I was able to do things, and it was one way for me, like I spoke, people got reactions. I love speaking. I love having somebody have a feeling. I love doing interventions and people wanting to get into treatment.
Why?
Or like family.
Why?
Because I feel that there's a part of me I'm watching,
So that's kind of the question that's popping up in my mind to ask you. That's where I had to jump out as an opportunity to say, why is, do you feel like, why do you do what you're doing? I mean, you're both really smart. You are, and you could only, if you wanted to, just be a person that goes to meeting, you're in recovery, whatnot, be an actress, be a model, do this, spokesperson, whatever. Tim could do anything, he start any business, any kind of anything, be successful, no doubt. Why do you do this? And often, do you feel like you're trapped? Like you could do anything. Why do you do this?
I gotta tell you, this is.
I'm gonna let you answer. I've got to go to the bathroom. Okay. I'm gonna let you answer, and I'll be back.
He's in his 50s.
All right. There's three things. I'm not gonna say it. It's a bad show.
So,
that's the first time I ever had a guy go to the bathroom in an interview.
That's hilarious. So, anyways, I gotta tell you, this is exactly where I'm at. I signed up to speak. I love it. I love speaking. I love educating people. I love giving back. I do love doing interventions at times. I'm not out to go chase somebody into a crack house. I'm not that girl. I'm just not. Don't ever ask me to go chase someone into. Not doing it. I did it on TV by accident. Got chased by MS-13 members and all that stuff. But I do not chase an addict. I'm not going to fight harder for your recovery than you. I get it. Trying to get somebody into treatment or get into recovery. But that's not my job. However, speaking, doing interventions, hosting our podcast, talking about recovery, talking about my experiences, all that stuff, that's nice. Yep. I am really sickened by the industry. Again, like I said earlier, it's more screwed up than Hollywood for me. I love acting as well, and I love doing creative things. And so I've been really questioning what I do and how I do it with Tim. And we're putting boundaries on certain things, and we're really reevaluating our lives on this, because you know what? I have not heard Tim talk to one person in the last month, with his friends or people that he knows that work in this industry, not say one good thing about their career.
They're just
not
let me
one person.
They're
most
just
people hate what they do.
Yeah,
then why do it?
I don't hate what I want to do. What I hate is all the variables and bullshit that's associated with it. But I want to answer your question on why I do interventions. And if I really am honest and think back, when I was, I got sober in a prison cell. I got sober with the big book in a Chicago gang chief, James Big Perkins. And I've been sober 8.5 years. I wish somebody would have come in and done an intervention with me 15, 20 years ago. Maybe it would have worked. I wish I would have known what I know now that I could apply to my son, Nicholas, that passed away from an overdose on my 21-month sobriety date. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know there was 90, 120-day treatment programs. I didn't know about Oaks Recovery. And it's trying to give a family hope.
We have Oaks Recovery pay us an ad fee or something.
Yeah, I know.
Great program.
That's the whole thing though, too, is that, people say, oh, I didn't know. We're sitting here telling you we didn't know, but I'll tell you what we did that's different. We figured it out, and we found out, and we asked questions, and we kept searching. So when I get mad sometimes when Tim's like, every day he's constantly telling people where to go on a free treatment thing, or go here, what city. These cities he doesn't even know, but he'll find somebody, right? He will make calls and calls and calls. And I go, why is that your job? We're not 411. And I hate to sound like a jerk about it, but I got to tell you, I didn't learn until I learned.
But
so
what did
why
I do?
am I?
What have we done recently?
Yeah.
What?
You've learned.
No, what did we shut down? What are we in the
process? Go ahead, we'll talk about it, babe. Don't make me guess. I know exactly what you're talking about. So, recovery, but
Jen brings up a good point, because prior to me meeting Jen, I was at the end of my rope. I'm running a nonprofit. I'm speaking all over. I'm working in treatment.
You're in a toxic
I was in a toxic, awful relationship.
You're giving.
Giving. I was ready to blow my head off. I wasn't going to relapse, but I was at the end of my rope.
Wait, you say that so fast. My husband, when I first met him, was either going to have a nervous breakdown or blow his brains out. That's heavy.
And my phones, 3 cell phones, 24/7. It rang at 2 a.m. I answered it. I did this, and I got to save all these people because in my mind, my son died, and I've been to 150 funerals. But it got to the point, Rob, to where my nonprofit, a Man in Recovery Foundation, a couple weeks ago, my board and I voted. We're dissolving it. We are shutting it down. It's run its course for 6 years. We've helped thousands of people. We've donated over $1 million. I never took a salary, but it took a piece of me. Somebody had said something to where it's okay to have passion, but you ultimately need to be paid for it. And I couldn't keep doing this. My life has shifted. I'm with my wife now.
You're in your 50s.
Yeah,
babe. Like, why? You're not 20. Like,
why? Why do you do what you're doing? Why?
So that's a good question. You know, I think
no one's ever asked.
I think for me, 30 years of my active addiction, everything I went through was my training ground for what I do today. It's as simple as that. And when it comes to speaking, my wife and I together are 2 of the top speakers internationally. I don't care what anybody says on substance abuse, mental health, what's broken in the system, suicide, bullying, fixing the system. We're damn good at what we do.
Well, why I did what I did prior to Tim was because I remember my sponsor said to me, I mean, I was a girl that was in a wheelchair after I hung myself and I couldn't speak. I couldn't because of the fixation. It took me 3 months to form sentences. I couldn't walk. It took me 6 months to learn to walk from a wheelchair to a cane, to a walker to a cane. I was in depends. I had no control of bodily functions. I call them diapers. I'm a girl that shook profusely for 9 months. So the fact that I got this back, my sponsor says, like the fact that I can somewhat form sentences here and there, you know, my jaw was disconnected as well. Like, I mean, I was a mess. So the fact that I can sit here and be one of the people that survived my addiction and got into recovery is to give back.
And 15 and a half years.
And 15 and a half years of sobriety. It is a miracle, but there is a balance. And I don't know how much longer or in which area. And I've been really questioning it ever since we got COVID and we're in near-death experiences that, you know, things changed for me, my value of what I want. Like, I don't chase things anymore. We're not in a
What is your purpose?
Way.
What is your purpose?
My purpose is to be the best husband to my wife, to worship the ground and support my wife, to support my children, to be there for my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, and my mom and dad, and my brothers and sisters. That's it. And my couple close friends. My purpose is not to save everyone's family and rescue the world.
But you do.
But I'll tell you this, what my purpose is now moving forward, when I met
Be the best wife to my husband.
to live the second half of my life happy,
Bam.
Whatever that means to me. And I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
So I was of service. I did what Tim did in a different way for the first 12 years of my recovery. And I did it differently. And I was in I was bringing, you know, everything for fun and for free the first 5 years of my sobriety. And then I stopped. And then I started doing things.
Are you going to be doing this stuff in 5 years, in 10 years?
That's a great question, Rob.
No.
If we were, I wouldn't say no. If we were, we will own our own health and wellness program and run it the way we want it to be run.
So I'll be a writer.
What would you do if you won Powerball? If you won Powerball, what would you do?
Bounce.
Please. I would obviously, no, I would. It's funny. Everyone talks about it. I would donate a lot of money and do helping.
I mean, like for like career, you know, would you just be like buy a bunch of real estate, or would you do this? Would you still be helping people in recovery?
I'm a big advocate, and I've always said this in my recovery, is we all have a story to tell. It's up to us how we want to tell our story. So I still have stories to tell, and I still have experiences, and I think it's important for me to keep sharing that. God gave me a platform, and he gave me a platform when I was out there before, and my journey was that. but my rebirth, I got a platform again. And I can't believe that came to me. So it's my obligation and my duty.
So here's my thought on this. I texted my brother, Greg.
Wait, hold on. We got to finish this answer. So I am in the process right now. And this is the only part I'm going to say is I'm starting to write a book, and I have my writers, 3 books. I have 3 books. Woo! I got a 3. And so that's yesterday that happened. I've always wanted to be a writer. I mean, and I am a writer. I write for Recovery Today magazine. And again, you've given me that platform, and people, because you reached out to me and said, people really respond to your journey, and I'll put a post a really beautiful picture and I'll be like, I have an eating disorder, or I'm an abuse survivor, or a sexual assault survivor. Yeah. I tell my truth. And
when you write the article on married to a fucking badass.
And so my other thing is I'll always be a writer. And I'm now writing a book.
So here's my thought. The reason I had asked to tie a bow around, because I never heard anybody actually say it this way. First of all, if I won, at least I think, if I won Powerball, I would still do Recovery Today. I think. Maybe not. Maybe I'd bounce. I don't know. But I don't think so. And the reason is that I think that one of the essences of life is to get to the deeper kind of things. I like to talk. I used to like football. I like to talk sports. Now I don't so much now because it's all become politicized and racial and all this kind of whatnot like that. And it's just fucking money. But I used to like those kind of things as outlets for different things. I love personal development, but I like to talk about the weightier matters of life, like what's your purpose and what's your this, that, and the other. And the magazine has given me an outlet to have deep and meaningful conversations with people that think like I do, or that I can connect with like this, or they've got some kind of platform, or they're unique, or who gets to ask questions like that to supermodels and rock stars and things like that. It's cool. And I enjoy the outlet of writing and sharing my own thoughts. But the reason I ask about, like, would you still be doing this? I texted my brother one time years ago, and I said, what is the purpose and the meaning of life? Because these are the kind of things I think about a lot. What's this about, man? Like, why are we here? What are we supposed to do? Where, and I sent him this text message one day, what's the purpose of life? And I did it on purpose to just leave it like that. And, usually I would expect a message back. Well, that's the question of the ages. Isn't everybody trying to figure it out? Isn't this, that, and the other? I'll get back to you. I thought there'd be something like that. And all that I got was to give confidence to others. That was it. Full stop. And I'm like, what the fuck kind of answer is that? Good confidence to others. Well, when I broke it all down, because that's how my brain works, I started breaking down all the meaning of this. I realized in order to give confidence to others, okay, so that means somebody that's going through, somebody that doesn't have confidence, that means that they're going through some shit, okay, and you're going to tell them, hey, it's going to be okay. That would be giving confidence, right? You really can't authentically give confidence that's going to be received unless you went through the shit yourself.
Right.
So you could say, I know that you feel like you're really fucked up right now. I know you want to this. I know you want, because I was in the same position. So therefore, the whole idea, kind of the reason I had asked a little bit of it is, I assumed you do this kind of stuff because you come from a place of pain and loss and anguish and all of these kind of things. And it gives meaning to, like, this is why I went through this shit, so that I can help you. Because it's a toll, but that's kind of what I was kind of going.
It's part of it, but I want to answer your other thing, because we are going to win the Powerball, and what we do with it, I'll definitely donate a bunch, and we're going to help friends and live life. What that looks like, I have no idea.
You only get one shot, man. You only get one shot.
Yep.
A friend of mine, my book agent, a few years ago said to me, your life is not a dress rehearsal, so show up for it. Yeah. And like, you do get one shot. And I think I have dedicated my life to helping others and giving back. But at what point is it still healthy for me?
Bingo. Because, Rob, it gets to the point too, the amount of hate and meanness from people that have never met me, never met my wife, have no idea, have never picked up the phone and called me to have a conversation, but they judge you from what they see or hear. As Jen said, this recovery industry is the most dysfunctional industry I've ever worked in. There's more clicks, there's more bullshit. You know, there's 35.
So many people that are in it come from addiction. And as I say, like, I kind of like being editor-in-chief of a recovery magazine because it gives me license to be a little crazy. Like, I can say crazy shit. You know.
I didn't see it as much until I got together with Tim. You know, I mean, I was speaking, and I never really, like, when I was speaking all across the country for the last 7 years prior to Tim, or 6 years, I didn't purposely never met any of the owners. I didn't want to know the owners, or like business. I didn't know what business developments were. I didn't know about any of that stuff. Like, I just did my thing, right? And I was grateful that God gave me that platform so I could keep doing what I was doing that way. Now I know about this stuff, and the toxicity from that, and you know, I've been talking a lot about this in therapy, is that, you know, I'm an addict. My husband's an addict. We're in recovery. My family, you know, like, I love people who are who are active alcoholics, not active, but I love alcoholics and addicts and people with mental health. I work in an industry of mental health addicts and alcoholics. So where's my balance, right? So when we're done with our day, you know, I want to appreciate my husband. And
Jen has taught me to, it might be at 6 o'clock. I shut my phone off. We go to dinner. We walk to the Intercoastal. I am learning to say no. The good thing is, with what we do today, Rob, we don't work for a treatment center. I got so disgusted with the industry, and it's like working for the mob. Oh, you only put 4 people in this month. You know, you better get your numbers up. Numbers. I'm dealing with human beings. I'm dealing with people's fucking kids and families, and all you give a shit about is numbers. The nice thing being an interventionist is we can work with a number of centers and give families options on what's appropriate for them on cost, insurance, and we can speak, but we can pick and choose what we want to do and what we don't want to do.
Okay, so let's on that spot.
And we're enjoying our podcast.
I have to bring it in for a landing. So let's jump to the podcast in a second. But how do people that are saying, well, I'd like to talk to you, how do they get in touch with you and all the kind of stuff like that?
The easiest way, you can go to our website, www.dopetohope.com, dopetohope.com. You can call us directly at 844-611-HOPE, 844-611-4673. You can find Jen
at Jennifer Gimenez.
Jennifer Gimenez on all platforms.
On all platforms, Gimenez.
And, you know, I'm Tim Ryan, Dope to Hope, on Instagram and Facebook,
or
on
you
Twitter.
Can tune in to our podcast on
all platforms, on, you know, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all of them.
Amazon.
There's 24 different platforms we're on, or you can download LUXE TV app and type in the Tim and Jen Show. The Tim and Jen Show. We're a weekly podcast.
And I want to end with this. Thank you for allowing us to be the first couple on your cover. It is a blessing. We're humbled and honored. We love you.
We love you.
Thank you for putting Latina back on that cover.
Absolutely. Well, as you can tell, anybody that's watching here from the interview, we could go on and on and on, and it would be like a Joe Rogan 2.5 hour interview type of a thing.
I'd have to take another bathroom break.
I got to stick the landing here. And on that note, my friends, Tim and Jennifer, anybody can see why we're friends. They're caring, they're passionate, they're knowledgeable, and they're just, you know, they're just real people. They're cool to be around. So I'd encourage anybody to get back to them. If you're thinking you need help, your kids need help, your friend needs help or something like that, give a call. Probably won't answer the phone now at 3 a.m. anymore because we're having boundaries.
Or send an email, tim@dopetohope.com, jen@dopetohope.
Any and all, and we'll have all that stuff in the feature. I appreciate you jumping out, and this has been another fun, cool fire hose of information and opinions interview at Recovery Today magazine, and this is a wrap.